Hello and good evening. Welcome to the PMP Certification Masterclass number 4. This is the final masterclass in a series leading up to the PMP Certification Fast Track Coaching Program starting on July 16th. That is next Wednesday, 2025. As always, I'm Dr. KD Ewulu. I'll be working with you today to share a few things concerning the PMP and how to get certified. And today I have a bonus content. I'm going to also be adding on the CAPM requirements. For your information, the CAPM is a Certified Associate of Project Management. It's an entry-level certification for project managers, while the PMP is a flagship project management certification, and that is an acronym for the project management professional. So without much ado, let's get to it. Okay. I would like to first of all say that this masterclass is going to be touching on project stakeholder management, code of ethics and professional conduct of the Project Management Institute, agile project management, and of course, how to finalize and get prepared for your PMP exam with documentations and registrations. And of course, we're going to be looking at a few simulated exam questions and prep. All right, so let's just go ahead and begin with that. I want to first of all start by talking a little bit about what the ATP and what the ATI mean. Okay, the ATP, as we all know, is an acronym for the Authorized Training Partner with the Project Management Institute. It is an acronym for the partner organization that does the training for the PMI. Okay, it is the partner organization that does the training for the PMI. On the other hand, the ATI is the Authorized Training Instructor, either for the PMP or for the CAPM, of which I, Dr. KD Ewulu, am an instructor for the PMP and for the CAPM certification. So I'm authorized to teach those classes under the banner of the ATP, which is KDE Leadership. Having said that, the master classes we've done over the last 3 or 4 months introduced to the PMP Certification Fast Track Training Program. And for that Fast Track Training Program, what we're putting together helps you meet the 7,500 hours of PMI qualifying prerequisites for the exam. It helps you meet the 35 contact hours. That means that once you finish this course that is coming up, we can sign you off on that and you're qualified to take the exam. It provides all the study and exam prep materials directly from the Project Management Institute PMI. It also helps you with exam documentation with the PMI, provides accountability touch points. We meet once a week on Wednesday evenings, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Zoom. So whatever part of the world you're joining us from, you'll be able to partake of that. And of course, there'll be videos for those who have registered for that course afterwards. So you own the videos for 17 straight weeks. And those are those weeks that you have accountability touch points. You can ask your questions. We can go through an in-depth study of each of the knowledge areas, as well as agile, stakeholder management. And of course, there's a whole week dedicated to exam prep, and that is going to be on week 16. Now, coming to costs, that saves you about $6,500 in overall costs. And of course, the KD Leadership offers convenient payment plans going forwards. All right. Having said that, let me share a little bit about what the CAPM brings as well, because we're going to be running that starting on August the 4th, 2025. So that program is going on as well. And that is the CAPM Certification KSA's coaching program. The KSA is an acronym for Knowledge, Skills, and Attitudes. Again, it meets the 7,500 hours PMI qualifying prerequisites for the exam, meets the 23 contact hours required. It also provides all the study and prep materials directly from PMI and helps with the exam documentation with the PMI. Again, provides accountability touch points for 10 weeks because this program, as is an entry-level program, is going to last for 10 weeks. We're going to be meeting on Mondays, Monday evenings as well from 7 p.m. Eastern, once a week for 2 or 3 hours to go through all the foundational precepts that will allow you take and pass the CAPM exam after the 10 weeks are over. Again, it saves you $2,000 in overall costs, and there are convenient payment plans as well. So without much ado, let's just get into project stakeholder management. We're going to start with that. So project stakeholder management includes 4 different aspects. Identify stakeholders, plan the stakeholder engagement, manage stakeholder engagement, and of course, control stakeholder engagement. Having said that, as you all know, as we've shared in the last of our 3 masterclasses, each of these knowledge areas have inputs, tools and techniques, and outputs, okay? So again, the project stakeholder management not only has these inputs and outputs, but each of the management processes involved here have their own individual inputs, techniques, and outputs, okay? Remember that we're going to be utilizing the PMP Guide 5th edition. If you don't have a 5th edition, because we're now on the 7th edition, just go to whatever edition you're in and go to figure 13.1. Figure 13.1 gives you a general overview of the stakeholder management knowledge area, okay? Please make sure that you learn and memorize the individual inputs, techniques, and outputs for each of these processes, as well as the general one for stakeholder management. That is what the exam is going to be based on going forwards. All right, so I'm going to be looking at a few key topics, talking about a few key topics in this very short broadcast. We're going to be talking about stakeholders, the common stakeholders on a project, stakeholder classification models, stakeholder engagement assessment matrix, the skills that are required to manage stakeholders, and of course, the project stakeholder management processes. Again, I'm going to share my screen a little bit so you're able to eyeball exactly what I'm talking about going forwards. So how do we define a stakeholder? A stakeholder is anybody, individual, group, or organization who may be affected negatively or positively by a decision, an activity, or outcome of a project. Anybody that the project touches, affects, impacts, whether positively or negatively, is a stakeholder. Basically, a stakeholder is anybody who cares. Anybody who cares is a stakeholder. Having said that, let's go ahead and look at some examples of stakeholders. Senior management are stakeholders. Sponsors are stakeholders. Project managers, project team members are stakeholders. Customers and clients, stakeholders. End users are stakeholders. Vendors, suppliers, and of course, anybody who may be impacted by the project are stakeholders. And then, of course, environmentalists, social groups, government, and political leaders. These are all stakeholders. So we ask ourselves, how do we identify stakeholders? How do we go about understanding who they are? Okay, you identify them by knowing who have interests, involvement, interdependencies, influence, or impact. Those who have stakes to consider, which include interests, rights, ownership, knowledge, and contributions. All right, in identifying them, the process is iterative throughout the project. It is fluid. It is fluid. It happens because stakeholders emerge and disappear during the project. Some people who you wouldn't think were stakeholders at the beginning end up becoming stakeholders because it impacts them further down the line and they're either with you on the project or against you on the project. For example, senior management, customers, sponsors, advocacy groups, political leaders, vendors. These are all stakeholders. So let's delve a bit deeper into these stakeholders. Let's delve a bit deeper. The project stakeholder management has a plan. It is called the stakeholder management plan. And what does it provide? It provides the current engagement levels of stakeholders. It talks about the scope and impact of change to stakeholders. Okay? It identifies relationships and potential overlap between stakeholders. It also has the stakeholder communication requirements to the current project phase. Basically, you need to communicate to every stakeholder. You need to keep them in the loop, especially those who are negative stakeholders who are going to negatively impact your project. You need to keep them close. So information to be distributed to stakeholders are included in the stakeholder management plan. And that includes the language, the format, the content, and the level of detail. There's also the reason for the distribution of that information and the expected impact to stakeholder management. You have a time frame, you have a method for updating and refining the stakeholder management plan as the project progresses and develops. Okay, so let's look at a few of the skills that are required, that are necessary to manage stakeholders. They're called interpersonal skills and managerial skills. Interpersonal skills include the following: building trust, resolving conflict, active listening, and overcoming resistance to change. On the other hand, managerial skills include facilitating consensus, influencing people, negotiating agreements, modifying organizational behavior. Whatever the case is, there are a few stakeholder register elements we should look at here. Number one, what is the identifying information for stakeholder elements? Name, organization, position, location, and role in the project. You have to have all these things so you know exactly how to contact them. You know what their impact is on you if they turn against you. So you want to be sure that those who are going to impact you negatively, I can't say that enough. You've got to take care of them. Assessment information. That includes the major requirements, expectations, influence, life cycle, the phase that they are most interested in, etc., etc. And then stakeholder classification. You're looking at whether they are internal stakeholders, external stakeholders, supporters, neutral, or aggressors. You have to have all those things in place. You have to know exactly how each one is going to impact your project so you know how to handle them. You know what your response time is and just exactly what you're going to have to do with them to get them to work with you. Again, a few key concepts that we have here include stakeholders impact or can be impacted by the project both positively and negatively. I've said that before. Stakeholders have different levels of influence. Identifying and engaging them is critical to the success of the project. Stakeholder identification and engagement should start once the charter is approved, the project manager is assigned, and the team has formed. And then finally, identifying and engaging them is an iterative process. Basically, as the project goes on, it develops. And as the project changes, the stakeholders will change as well. Understand that as a key concept. All right, we're coming to the end of stakeholder management. I want to share a few sample exam questions with you. Remember, this is a masterclass. You're going to get the full information, the full exams. We're going to take you through the exam questions week by week by week, okay? Knowledge area by knowledge area. We're going to go through cost, schedule, quality, communications, on, procurement, name it. We're going to go through all of them and go through those questions. We have access to them. Once you sign up for the program, you're going to have access to all those questions. We're going to go through them with you and let you know what the answers are. So let's move on. Some of the questions we're going to have is, what does not need to be in place before initiating the stakeholder identification process? Is it the project charter, the project management plan, the project manager assigned, the project team is forming? The answer is B. Stakeholder identification can and should occur before the project management plan so that stakeholder engagement can be built into the plan. Question number 2. A project manager is considering the interests of other project managers in the organization who may have helpful information. What is the direction of this influence? A project manager considering the interests of other project managers in the organization. Is it outwards? Is it prioritization? Is it sidewards? Is it downwards? The correct answer is C. It is sidewards. There are many directions of influence. This one involves peers and is therefore sidewards. All right, I am going to be sharing with you some PMP qualifying information, okay? I'm going to be sharing that with you. I think you should see that on the screen because this is critical. These are information you need to make up your mind to enroll in the PMP program. So here goes, okay? It takes 3 to 5 years to amass verified project management experience that qualifies you for the PMP. This program has patented a 17-week, which is a 4-month path to that. So we're shortening all the experience you're supposed to garner that will take you 3 to 5 years. We're going to get you through all of it in 17 weeks. All right. The next thing there is for the PMP exam, it requires showing evidence of between 4,500 hours to 7,500 hours, depending on your degree. If you have a 2-year degree, you have to show 7,500 hours. If you have a 4-year degree, you have to show 4,500 hours of signed-off project management activity to be approved to take the PMP exam. That's a tall order. Well, the good news is the program we have for you that is starting in a couple of days has perfected a 112-day, once per week Zoom delivered alternative. So in essence, all the stuff that you're supposed to be getting done 4,500 hours at the minimum, we're going to be able to get you through in 112 days and you'll be ready and certified. Once you sign off that you've taken this course, you're qualified to take the exam. You don't need any other level of experience to get it done. That's for the PMP. For the CAPM exam, as I said to you, the CAPM qualifying exam is an entry-level exam into project management. It's for interns and rookies who are just starting, okay? People with very little project management experience, this is their entry-level certification. It's an acronym for the Certified Associate of Project Management. Traditionally, it takes about 3 years to amass the verified project management experience. KDEL has patented a 10-week, which is a 2.5-month path to that. Again, traditionally, the CAPM requires you showing evidence of 7,500 hours of signed-off project management activity to be approved to take the CAPM exam. KDEL has perfected a 75-day, once per week Zoom-delivered alternative that requires only 1.5 to 2.5 hours of instruction per week. All right, that's it for the qualifying information I wanted to share with you. So let's get to the next section here. We're going to be looking at the PMI Code of Ethics and Professional Conduct. And bear in mind that even when you pass the exam, if you do not pass the Code of Ethics exam, you will not be granted a PMP certification. You will not, or a CAPM certification for that matter. So this is a very important, even though it's a very small aspect, it talks of ethics, right and wrong, but you have to pay attention there and pass that. And we're going to walk you through that when you register for the course. So let's move on. All right, the Code of Ethics deals with the vision and purpose, responsibility, respect, fairness, and honesty. And there are 4 core values spread into mandatory and aspirational standards. There are 4 core values spread into mandatory and aspirational standards. Again, the Code of Ethics and Professional Conduct was created by the Project Management Institute. You can download that from the PMI site on the link below. You can download that on the PMI site on the link below. Okay. A couple more information concerning the code of ethics. To the profession, you have some professional responsibilities to the profession of project management. You got to comply with organizational rules and policies, okay? You got to have your candidate certified professional practice. You got to have the advancement of the profession. That is part of your responsibility, okay? You got to be there to advance the profession. To the customers and the public, you got to show your qualifications, experience, and performance of professional services. You have to do your job well. You have to satisfy your customers and your clients. You got to make sure that you stay away from conflict of interest situations, okay? Because that is not ethical. Once there is a conflict of issue, you have to back off and recuse yourself. And then there are other prohibited professional conduct going on. Now, to ensure individual integrity, there are a few things you must do as certified project managers, okay? You must always report the truth. You must follow the copyright rules. Never use unlicensed products. When conflict occurs, deal with it. Don't accept any kind of bribe. That's not acceptable. Treat everyone with respect. Always do the right thing and follow the right process. Never divulge company information to unauthorized parties. Respect intellectual property rights. Follow the PMI Code of Ethics and Professional Conduct. These are just things to ensure your own individual integrity, even when you have your certification. You have to bear this in mind going forwards. Again, as a certified project manager, you got to contribute to the PM knowledge base. What does that mean? Share your best practices. Whatever you've learned during your project, share it with other project managers in your organization. Mentor junior team members on project management related topics. Write a blog on project management or participate in project management discussion groups. Actively participate in analyzing past project data and compile project management related metrics to be used within the organization. These are all ways you can contribute to the project management knowledge base. You want to also help in enhancing professional competency by analyzing your strengths and weaknesses, identifying a senior project manager to mentor you on your weak areas, actively looking for ways to apply your project management knowledge on projects, reading project management books for new ideas or techniques, discussing the challenges you face on your projects with other project managers. These are ways you can enhance your professional competency. How do we promote stakeholder collaboration? How do we promote stakeholder collaboration? Project managers and stakeholder collaboration can occur when you resolve competing interests. When you deal with conflicting scenarios, take charge. When you respect cultural differences, this often occurs when projects span different geographies. Always keep your stakeholders informed about the true status of the project. Always keep them informed. All right, let's look at a few code of ethics and professional conduct questions, okay? The kind of questions that will come up in the exam. Remember, this is a masterclass. I'm just giving you one or two hints here and there. The full thing will be handled in the 17-week, in-depth, fast-track certification coaching program coming up soon, all right? I'll give you some more information on how to enroll in that going forwards. So let's look at a few questions. As a project manager, you have a professional and social responsibility to encourage the growth of project management at your company or industry. All the following support this except: number one, you want to mentor others who want to learn more about project management. You want to create white papers on project management. You want to provide senior management with information about the benefits of outsourcing. You want to train people on project management. Of course, the answer there is C. Okay, the benefits of outsourcing basically is not related to professional and social responsibility, because they're asking you which one of these is not supportive of professional and social responsibility. Second question, Your company wants to open a plant in a country where the law stipulates that women can earn only 50% of what men earn. Under these circumstances, what should you recommend to your company? Do you recommend they do not open the plant? Do you recommend they meet with the government and try to equalize the pay rate between men and women? Do you not hire women? Do you provide the women you hire with extra work to increase their salary? The answer there is A, do not open the plant. Working under these rules will be a clear violation of the fundamental right to non-discriminatory treatment. Bear that in mind. So these are just two samples to let you know exactly that ethics talks about what is right, what is fair. And once you bear that in mind, you'll be able to discern the right thing to do in an exam and answer those questions correctly. Now I'm going to be sharing, again, some PMP qualifying information. You can spend over $9,000 in the 3 to 5 years to amass your verified project management experience, study materials, coaching programs, and boot camps. KDEL has patented a $2,500 cost alternative payable in 1 to 5 installments. Wow. Traditionally, it may require taking time off work to prepare adequately for the PMP exam, especially for boot camps and coaching sessions. KDEL has perfected this 17-day, once-per-week alternative that takes 1.5 hours of Zoom attendance each week, 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. after work hours. Here is a link at the bottom there. You can stop the video and look at that link to get your enrollment done. Remember, we have 5 days to enrollment. You got to get this done as quickly as possible. And that takes us to number C, which is Agile Project Management. We're going to be talking about Agile Project Management. This is going to happen in week 15. Agile Project Management. And in talking about that, we'll talk about the Agile Manifesto. What is that? The Agile Manifesto prefers individuals and interactions between individuals over processes and tools. It prefers working product over comprehensive documentation. They're working on it, they're learning as they go on. It prefers customer collaboration over contract negotiation, and it prefers responding to change over following a plan. All right? So basically, even though there is a lot of value on the items on the right-hand side, the Agile Manifesto values the items on the left-hand side more. So they talk about individuals and interactions, working product, customer collaboration, and responding to change. Okay, so what are the 12 principles of Agile project management? What are the 12 principles of Agile project management? Number one, our highest priority is to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software. I'm not going to spend time reading out all 12 of them, so I'm just going to select about 3 or 4, and then we'll move on, okay? The most efficient and effective method of conveying information to and within a development team is face-to-face conversation. In the Agile world, they prefer that. Again, a working software is a primary measure of progress in the Agile world. Simplicity, the art of maximizing the amount of work not done, is essential. So in essence, not everything that should be done. They're actually trying to leave a lot of things undone and just focus on the most important things to get done, because it's a work in progress. Excuse me. You're iterating, you are adapting, you are being fluid, seeing what works and incorporating what works into the process. So it's a work in progress. At regular intervals, the team reflects on how to become more effective, then tunes and adjusts its behavior accordingly. Now, apart from having 12 principles of Agile project management, there are also 6 stages of Agile development life cycle. Number 1, scope out and prioritize your projects. That's called the concept. Number 2, diagram the requirements for the initial sprint. That's called inception. So you have concept, you have inception, you have sprints. That is, you're constructing the thing, you're iterating. Sprints are where you're doing the trial by error. Okay? Number 4, A release, you're releasing the iteration into production. When you've tried something, you have to release into production to see whether it works. That's a trial by error. So the release is you're now releasing it, and if there's any errors, you go back and cycle back again and fix it and then go to the next stage. And then after the release, you go into production. You have a production and ongoing support for the software release. And then finally, the sixth stage is retirement. The sixth stage is retirement. So how does it work? How does this pan out? Let me show you a diagram here, okay? Let me show you a diagram here. How does this work? You want to scope out and prioritize your projects. That's the concept. Once you do that, it takes us to inception. You're diagramming your requirements for the initial sprint. And that leads us to the sprints, okay? This is where the magic happens. You're iterating, you are figuring it out on the side during execution. So this is implementation. Remember, it's trial by error. Once you get everything put together by sprint, see what works, see what doesn't work, you go into release. You're releasing the iteration into production. That's the release. And then straight from the release, you're going into production and ongoing support for the software release. Once you finish that, you're going into retirement. You're completing the project right now. So that fifth one is production, and then the final one is retirement. You are completing the project. All right. So let's look at a few advantages and disadvantages of agile project management. Advantages. It allows for great flexibility. It's typically quick to market because everything is being done quickly and you're getting to the market and beginning to earn some money. It allows for great creativity. It could lower costs. There's good communication with owners, which will bring greater satisfaction. On the other side, a few disadvantages exist because nothing is perfect. Agile may be hard to implement for large projects. That means it's good for small projects. It will require training for your staff to implement well. It may require some transformation among PM staff and users. And time to completion is often not a priority. They're not in a hurry. Just keep going until you get something that works perfectly. That is agile. As I said, sprints are the magic. Sprints are like boxes of time, usually 2 weeks. Okay? They perform a specific set of work. All right? Sprint planning is done in every sprint. During each sprint, that's when you plan. You don't plan before the sprint. You plan during the sprint. This will end up producing a product or demo to show the product owner. Now, changes will be identified and added to the product backlog. All right? At the end of a sprint, a demo is done for the product owner to reevaluate the project direction, make changes, and approve the next sprint. Therefore, sprints are done until the product owner is satisfied or decides that the product is good enough. That takes us to what happens next. Since the sprints are the magic, what happens once we've done all this? What happens in a sprint? The sprint start. That is where you plan the sprint. You determine what product backlog items will be processed, and that's done by the product owner. The product team decides how to meet these objectives. So sprint start, sprint execution. These are daily Scrum meetings led by the Scrum Master. What has to be done and what is to be done next, and then sprint end. So you have a sprint start, sprint execution, and sprint end. The sprint end, the team demonstrates the product increment to the product owner or other stakeholders. They document changes, they modify the product backlog as needed. This is what you need going forwards. That's what happens in a sprint. All right, so again, I'm going to share my screen to give you a graphical representation of what happens in a sprint. I'm going to be sharing the waterfall style of project management and the agile style of project management. In the waterfall style, you have defining a project, planning a project, implementing a project, closing a project. And then, of course, there's also the documentation and monitoring and control. We call it DocMac. Bear in mind that the documentation and monitoring and control happens throughout the project lifecycle, from definition all the way to closure. That's why you have that cloud there. Okay, the doc mark in red is actually one of the stages of project management because it happens, it envelopes all the others. That's why they have that cloud enveloping them. There's define, there's plan, there's implement, there's close. Sometimes in the olden times, you put the doc mark between the implement and the close. So you're actually monitoring and controlling while implementation is going on. On the other hand, the agile style of project management is different. As you can see, you don't have the answers. You start with your requirements, you do your design, you develop, you test, you deploy, you review. If you review is not enough, again, you do the requirements again, design, develop, test, deploy, review, and on. So that's cyclical basis that way. That's what makes it beautiful. But as I said, it's for smaller projects. The waterfall is for traditional big projects. The waterfall style of project management is what is called the traditional style, and the agile is mostly kept for software projects. All right. So when do we use each method? For the waterfall style, it's used when the requirements are very well known, clear, and fixed. It's used when product definition is stable, technology is understood, there are no ambiguous requirements, ample resources with required expertise are available freely, and the project is short. For agile, the model is used when requirements may not at all be clear at first, and changes are likely. If time to market is a greater concern than a full-featured product, you use the agile. It allows for changes to be made rapidly. It allows user interaction on an ongoing basis. Those who will use the end product are actually involved in the producing of that product. It allows the product owner to decide when the product is good enough and may, in theory, stop the product at any time. I want to talk about another aspect of the agile style of project management called the Kanban. Kanban is a visual system for managing work. The main objective of implementing Kanban is to identify potential bottlenecks in the process and fix them. The Kanban goal is that workflow should proceed smoothly at an optimal speed. It also helps to achieve improvements regarding throughput, lead time, and quality. Having said that, what are the advantages and disadvantages of Kanban? Excuse me. Advantages of Kanban include it's a simple system for continuous improvement, and it enhances the effectiveness of human resources of a company. There's so many other advantages. I'm just picking out two from here. A few disadvantages. Since activities are shifted constantly on the board, timelines may become difficult because you're looking for smoothness. So you're not worried about the time that has elapsed. It may not work well if many tasks are interrelated because you're now breaking their interrelationships to make it smooth. It emphasizes workflow, so a Kanban could actually result in lower quality of work. Let's get to some questions right now, okay? And again, I'm going to be sharing my screen for you guys as I get to that question. Kanban is defined as a third type of project management along with waterfall and agile, a methodology to help control quality management which originated in Japan, a project management methodology which emphasizes communications and implements daily stand-up meetings, a visual system for managing work. The answer is D, a visual system for managing work. I'm going to throw in a true or false question here, all right? True or false? Agile project management is superior to waterfall project management. The answer is false. Agile project management is a different style of project management. Both agile and waterfall have advantages and disadvantages. Learn them both and use what is appropriate to you and to your situation. The next question. Agile believes the most efficient and effective method of conveying information to and within a development team is face-to-face communication, email communication, so everyone has a copy of the communication, Text communication. Texting is the way everyone is communicating in today's electronic world. A formal written document kept in the project notebook. The answer is A, face-to-face communication. Go and see the 12 principles of Agile project management. All right, so let's get a few PMP certification fast-track information, a few more of those, because we're getting to the end of this broadcast right now, and I need to show you exactly how to get into this program, because I know a lot of you are wondering about that. We've been talking about this for 3 or 4 months. We are starting in a week, July 16th, okay? So your study materials are going to come directly from PMI once you grab your spot. Remember that, okay? Now, there are 3 payment options. The first option, option number 1, is a one-time payment of $2,500 payable before the start of the program. In this case, by July the 1st, 2025, and that's the link there. Of course, because we're starting on July 16th, you can pay the one-time full payment by July 15th, which is the day before, on the eve of starting, okay? I would ideally like you to pay earlier so that you can get your materials. It's coming by email anyway, directly from the PMI, but it's important that you get it. We need 24 hours to get all those things in place, and you'll be ready to attend class on the 16th. Option number 2, a 2-installment payment plan of $1,250 each, payable at the start of the 1st and 3rd months of the program. In this case, on the 1st of July and on the 1st of September of this year. Again, these 2 installments can be paid on the eve of the 16th of July, that's the 15th of July, and then, of course, on the 1st of September of this year. The link below there is a link to hit and go ahead and make your payment. Option number 3, a 5-installment payment plan that includes a $500 deposit to grab your spot on the program. That's the link for that. And 4 payments of $525 spread over the 4-month duration of the coaching program. Each $525 payment due at the start of each month. In this case, on the 1st of July, 1st of August, 1st of September, and 1st of October of this year. It makes it easy, all right? It's just $525, all right? And that's the link there to be able to take on, if you want to take on that 5 installment payment plan. That is the link at the bottom there. So I'd like you to stay until the end, because I have a link to a special offer of $2,000 for masterclass attendees. So if you are listening to this masterclass broadcast, okay, then you have access, okay, to that $2,000 payment. I'm going to give you that link at the end of this broadcast. Now let me share some CAPM certification information as well, because the CAPM certification starts on August the 4th of this year. So you need to have that information as well. The study materials as well is going to come directly from PMI once you grab your spot. There are 3 payment options. Option number 1, a one-time payment of $1,000 payable before the start of the program. In this case, by August the 3rd. And that's the link. Option number 2, a 2-installment payment plan of $500 payable at the start of the 1st and 2nd months of the program. In this case, by the 3rd of August and by the 3rd of September of this year. Again, that's the link for that. And then option number 3, a 4-installment payment plan of $250 payable twice a month on or before the 3rd of August, 17th of August, 3rd of September, and 17th of September 2025. That's the link there. Again, as I said, you want to stay until the end, where I'm going to provide you the link to the PMP certification special offer of $2,000 for masterclass attendees. Finally, I'm going to be talking about finalizing your PMP exam documentations and registrations, simulated exam questions, and next steps. Okay? I want to start by saying that the practice exams, okay, there's a question bank with answers, and there's a link going to that. I will not be showing you the link right now. I'm not allowed to give you that link. Even if you do, you have to sign in, so you can't really get access to it. But just know that that link exists, and when you buy into the program, you get access to all these simulated things. And we're going to be working with you in week 16, week 15 and 16 to answer. We're going to have a 3-hour session where we're just going to answer questions. It's like we're taking a mini exam, okay? So trust me, all is going to be well. So what are the focus points for the exam strategies? Again, I'm going to be sharing my screen for you. What are the focus points and PMP exam content strategies? Number one, okay, we're going to be focusing on how to create a high-performing team, how to keep your team on track, getting started with your project, doing the work, keeping the business in mind. These are all the different categories the exam is going to touch on, okay? Of course, the business acumen will have 8 PDUs. The ways of working will have 19 PDUs. The power skills will have 8 PDUs. Together, all that come to 35 PDUs, which is the prerequisite of the PMP exam eligibility. This program is going to give you all this. You don't have to worry about all this. You take this course, we'll sign you off on that 17th week that you're done. You have those 35 PDUs, you're ready to take your exam. Please, again, I want to reiterate the deep understanding of the PMBOK guide. Study, develop your cheat sheets, practice. Okay? You can do this. So let's go into the exam itself. It's a computerized exam, situational in nature, scenario-based. All right? There'll be 204 option multiple choice questions in the exam. The exam will be graded. The computer is going to arbitrarily randomly select 175 questions from the 200 you answer. Okay? And so, in essence, it's 175 questions, but you have to answer the 200 questions to be sure you're going to pass. What is the passing score? Excuse me. The passing score is 61%. But in reality, it is 70%. Because you're expected to get 122 questions out of the 200. Okay, that's the 61%. But because they're only picking 175 questions, your 122 will be out of 175. And if you do that math, that's 70%. Most professional exams require you to score 70%, not 61. Okay. So for PMI members, you pay $405 for the exam. For non-PMI members, you pay $555 for the exam. I will strongly suggest that you join the PMI, okay? Join the PMI as a member. It saves you money on other things. I'm going to show you how much more money is going to save you with other things as well. You get a heavily discounted edition, electronic version of the PMBOK guide. PMBOK guide will cost you $600 to $700 if you're going to buy it in the open market. You're going to get it considerably less than that because you're a PMI member. So think about that going forwards. What is the exam broken down into? I'm going to give you the 2020 exam, whatever. I'm also going to give you the 2021 because things have changed a little bit. Okay, in 2020, the exams are comprised of this. Okay, the PM processes are different. Initiation has 13 questions. 13% of the number of questions has 26 questions. Planning has 48 questions. Execution has 62 questions. Monitoring and control has 50 questions. Closing has 14 questions. You see how the bulk of the questions come from planning, execution, monitoring, and control. You want to place your emphasis on that going forwards. Okay? Now let's look at some other information. In 2021, this was the exam breakdown. They broke it, they didn't go into the categories were no longer the process groups. It was now categories of people, process, and business environment. And if you look there, you see that the process has 50% of the questions come from process. 42% of the questions come from people. And then the business environment only has 8%. This is explained in full. You can stop the video and use that link to go in there and get some more information as to the exam categorization and what to expect. However, I don't want you getting discouraged. You want to go through the course, okay, before you start looking at the exams, because that's going to phase you if you're not prepared. All right, understanding the exam composition. There are 3 layers to the PMBOK guide: project management phases, processes, and knowledge areas. Okay, there are more than 50% of the 200 exam questions test your understanding of the planning and execution process groups. All right, that's a process. So 50% of those 200 questions come from the planning and execution process groups. Approximately 15 questions will come from ethics and professional responsibility. Please consult PMI for information on criteria for applying for the PMP credential and information on how to sign up for the exam. You can go ahead and use that link to see exactly how to do all that. We're also going to walk you through all that going forward. So once you sign up for the program, we have you in hand. We'll take you through all these things. And by week 15, 2 weeks before the end of the program, you should be ready with your exam dates, with your documentations, and what have you. Okay, so let's move on to, this is the early bird link I had promised you. Okay, so go ahead, stop that video, and go ahead, and this is the QR code for the early bird. If you're paying right now, you go ahead and make that payment of $2,000. Use that QR code or that link there. Both of them will take you to the same spot. You get that payment done right away. I'm going to be sharing some other fast track information for the PMP. All right, let's look at that. The first QR code I'm sharing is the PMP certification description on our website. It describes everything that we're going to be doing. So when you take a picture of that, you're able to go in, take you to our website, and you see exactly what has to be done. If you scroll down to the bottom of our website, you also see the payment links there. Okay? The second QR code is option 1. It takes you directly to the $2,500 one-time full payment. The third QR code takes you to option 2. It takes you to the 2-time payments of $1,250 per payment. That happens in the first month and in the third month. The last QR codes, there are 2 of them, okay, is option 3. There's a $500 deposit payment, and then there is a $525 4-time payment. So you grab your seat with $500, and then you pay $525 every month because the program lasts for 4 months. It makes it easy for you. So you can stop here, take a screenshot, stop here, take whatever option you want to take and move on. All right? The next slide I'm going to show you is the CAPM certification information, because this is a double thing. We're trying to sensitize you both with the CAPM and the PMP. If you think that the PMP is too heavy for you right now, you're not experienced enough, you're not ready for that, you can go ahead and do the CAPM exam. Okay, so in the CAPM exam, again, the first QR code describes the certification description, and that is the link there as well. The second QR code gives you the option 1, $1,000 one-time full payment, and that is the link there. The third QR code gives you option 2, $500 2-time payments, okay? And that is the link there. And then the final QR code at the bottom there gives you option 3, $250 payment, 4-time payment, and that is the link there. Again, you can stop this and go ahead and take a screenshot of whatever payment option you want to go in. If it's a CAPM you're interested in, that is fine. All right, I'm closing now by sharing with you again the early bird link versus the full payment link. The early bird link versus the full payment link. Remember, the early bird link is important for those who have attended any of these 4 masterclasses. You can go ahead on the left-hand side there. The QR code on the left-hand side is your early bird link. You pay $2,000 immediately, and you get your exam information emailed directly from PMI to you over the next couple of days. On the right-hand side is the $2,500 one-time full payment. Again, that is for people who did not attend the master classes, and this is available. Now, if you have any more information, please feel free to contact me, and we'll be able to sort you out, okay? All right. I want to say thank you all so much for working with me today, for listening to me over the last nearly 1 hour. Okay, if you want requests for any more information, send an email to support@kdleadership.com. My final advice to you as we go on is, please take your PMP or CAPM exams within 2 weeks of completing the course. Excuse me. Okay, take your PMP or CAPM exams within 2 weeks of completing the course. If you want an online appointment, you can see that link at the bottom there. Okay, go to our online calendar, calendly.com/KDE leadership/30 minutes. Okay, until then, that is me, Dr. KD, saying thank you so much for working with us today, for attending this final PMP Certification Masterclass. Okay, we talked about stakeholder management, we talked about code of ethics, we talked about agile project management, and we reviewed final documentations before the exam. We are going to go ahead and close now. Please remember, we have only about 3 or 4 days before we start. So watch this video, go back. You can use any of the links behind me on the screen right now to make your payments. Okay, whatever works for you, or you watch the video, steal it, and go in there and make your payments so we can start. I look forward to seeing you all very, very soon at the program starting on July 16th, and that is Wednesday, 2025. Until then, this is Dr. KD Ewulu wishing you all the very best and saying, see you soon. Bye for now.